All right, today we're tackling something pretty fascinating. We're going to explore a document that makes this huge claim that the final will and testament of the Prophet Muhammad actually contains a hidden blueprint for leadership. And get this, it supposedly stretches all the way to our time. So, yeah, let's dive right in.
So where does this idea come from? It's all laid out in a text called the Mahdis Manifesto. And in this explainer, we're going to break down its main arguments about, divine authority, history, and where we're all headed.
The whole thing kicks off with this really powerful image. The crowd moving without a leader was like a body running around without a head. It's using the 2011 Arab Spring to frame what it sees as the world's biggest problem right now, a deep and frankly dangerous crisis of leadership.
Okay, so let's get into part one, a leaderless world. The argument starts by looking at this global failure of leadership, not by digging into ancient history, but with a revolution that many of us remember. So the author says he was actually there, right on the front lines, in Egypt back in 2011. And he argues that, yeah, the people managed to topple a tyrant, which is huge, but then they were left totally directionless. Without what he calls a Moses, a divinely appointed guide, they were just forced to pick between two pretty bad options. And things, he says, ended up even worse than before.
And that experience, that observation, leads us right to the manifesto's core argument, and it's a pretty controversial one. It basically says that the problem isn't the leaders we choose, it's the act of choosing itself, that we, as human beings, are just not capable of picking the right people to lead. Just look at the contrast they're drawing here. On one side, you've got human choice. According to the manifesto, that's a recipe for disaster. It gives you tyrants, it gives you chaos. But on the other side, divine appointment. This is where God chooses a leader based on what's truly in their heart, not just what they say. And that, the text argues, is what brings real unity and justice. And to back this up, the manifesto pulls examples from all over the place. Scripture, philosophy, you name it. It points to the Hebrew Bible, where the Israelites made God angry by demanding a king. It brings up the Gospels, where the crowd chose Barabbas, a criminal, over Jesus. It even quotes the Quran and Socrates on the dangers of majority rule. The whole point they're making is that choosing leaders isn't just a bad strategy, it's something God has actively forbidden. So you might be thinking, okay, if we can't choose our own leaders, then how are we supposed to know who they are? Well, the manifesto shifts from the problem to the solution. It offers up what it calls a clear three-part test to identify a divinely appointed guide. All right, so here's the three-part test. First, the will. The leader's name has to be explicitly mentioned in the will of the person who came before them. Second, knowledge. They have to possess a kind of divine knowledge about religion and even things unseen. And third, the banner. This means their one and only message, their platform, is the supremacy of God. They're not interested in any man-made systems. And that first proof, the will, is everything. It's the absolute centerpiece of the manifesto's entire claim. It all comes down to a specific, written will supposedly left by the Prophet Muhammad himself.
So to set the scene, the text points to this hadith. The story goes that on his deathbed, the Prophet Muhammad said, "Come near, let me write for you a writing after which you will never go astray." The manifesto claims that writing, the one that would save everyone from going astray, is his will.
And this quote is supposed to be from that very will. Now, the version they cite doesn't just name Ali as the successor. It goes way further. It lays out this incredibly precise line of succession. 12 imams, and then after them, 12 Mahdis. It's presented as this perfect, unbroken chain of command stretching through time. So, here's the bottom line. The manifesto is arguing that this written will is the ultimate proof. It's totally objective. It's not about who's the most charismatic or who gets the most votes. It's just about whose name is written down in this sacred, prophetic document. Simple as that. Okay, so where does this will fit into the bigger picture of, all of human history? Well, the manifesto places it inside a much larger framework, a whole series of covenants between God and humanity. You can see the progression right here. Each of the major prophets, Adam, Noah, Abraham, all the way to Muhammad, they each brought a new covenant, a new agreement with God. The manifesto's claim is that humanity has broken every single one of those covenants, and so now the successors named in that will are here to bring about the seventh and final one. And this is where it gets really specific. The manifesto doesn't leave it in the past. It names names. It claims that Abdullah Hasham, the author, and Ahmed al-Hassan are the living, breathing successors mentioned in that will. And so the call to action is direct.
Pledge allegiance to them because they are the gatekeepers to this new final covenant. So what's the end goal of all this? I mean, it's not just about finding a leader and calling it a day. The whole point is to follow that leader to build a completely new kind of society, right here on Earth. And to paint a picture of what that society looks like, the text actually pulls a quote from the book of Acts in the Christian Bible. It's this vision of total unity where everyone shares everything they have. Think of it like a throwback to how the very first Christian communities lived. And the rules for this new community, wow, they are radical. We're talking about sharing all possessions. No money exchanged between believers. Your worth isn't based on your bank account. It's based on how you serve the community, whether you're a doctor or a cook. The whole idea is to eventually emigrate, gather around the leader, and literally build this divine just state from the ground up. And that's the end game. The ultimate vision here is to create an actual physical state on Earth that's basically a return to the Garden of Eden, a place where God's chosen leader rules openly and everything is perfectly just. So, in the end, what we have is this incredibly detailed, scripture-based blueprint for what perfect leadership should look like. And it really leaves you with a big question, doesn't it? In a world that feels so chaotic and uncertain, what does the appeal of a plan this clear, this absolute, tell us about our own timeless search for certainty?